and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. I wanted to jump in today just discussing some of the books that we have in our library. I will admit that we have too many books. Outside of them like actually just fully aging out of a book, it is very difficult for me to be like, all right, we don't necessarily need this one. Let me know if that's something you struggle with as well. It's just really difficult for me. As a teacher, I loved getting book donations and I loved shopping book donations at our library. So I know how beneficial it is for other people to get their hands on books that I wouldn't need any longer or anyone else wouldn't need. And it is something that is on the list of things to do. I have a big box in our garage that is ready to go. The books that I'm going to show are all winter themed books that I think are really good for toddlers or preschoolers. Right now I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, so that's why I'm going to focus on that age. It's just books that I find work well with my girls. First one is this book right here. What I love about these books specifically is the flap is really thick. These ones, very difficult to rip. They'd have to pretty much try to rip it off. I just think they're so much sturdier with opening and closing, because when you open and close and it's bent, it's going to be easier to rip it. So I love how thick these are. I think these work really well. And we have a few different types of books that are this kind because they just last a while. But this one is just about different kinds of baby animals, really cute with sweet illustrations, not a lot of words on the pages, a really good toddler book. I'm not really going in order of toddler versus preschool. I kind of just piled my books from the biggest books to the smallest books, so that's how I'm going to go through these. This book is easy to find as not a board book, but I already had it as a board book and I just don't see the reason to get it as a regular book yet, with both girls being fairly young. I've started to move more into hardcover books with Alani, but since Emmy's still so young, I think it's good to still have some board books. Now, when she's older, I'll definitely get a hardcover version of The Snowy Day because this is just such a classic book. It is a book about a little boy who just goes outside on a snowy day and just the things that he discovers, like not any sort of planned play or anything. He just goes out and explores, and just a really sweet book. They have this on Amazon. I don't know if it counts as a movie or a like mini show, I'm not quite sure, but they do have this to watch if your kids like the book. That's a really good option. The next book is the Itsy Bitsy Snowman. So I like to read this one just like I would sing the song. So it's all about a snowman and its little journey that it goes on. What I like about stories like this is singing along. The girls can sing along too. It kind of helps them to even remember the words of the story since they're familiar with the Itsy Bitsy Spider song. If you were unaware, I love owls. So when Alani was born, I got basically every one of these books because there's a few different little owl stories. They actually have a new one out that I want to make sure I get in time for Valentine's Day. This one is the winter version of it. So it's Little Owl exploring, and it just goes kind of more into what the animals are doing during the winter time and how Little Owl misses some of the friends that are going away because of the winter season. And it doesn't go into detail of what each type of animal is doing in the winter, but it just does show how the forest changes when the weather gets colder. This is another book that I enjoy singing with the girls. It's called 10 on the Sled. And so it kind of goes with the 10 on the Bed song. And Emmy actually already loves singing this one at 2. It's one of her favorites to sing through. She does not know all of the words, but she just has a lot of fun singing it. So all of the animals are on the sled, and slowly, one by one, different animals are falling off until there's only one left on the sled. So a good counting book, counting down obviously from 10 to 1. I mentioned that Emmy loves it, but I still think this is a great book for preschool as well. Another one of Emmy's favorites is this Biscuit story. She loves the Biscuit stories. I would say this definitely is more in the toddler category, unless your child is wanting to read this book on their own, because it's a very simple story. It doesn't really keep Alani very engaged. Biscuit is the puppy in this story, and He is just doing a day of sledding with his owner and making a snowman, those types of things. When I taught preschool, I had a good bit of these books in my classroom. I just think they're very fun, simple stories for little ones. This book is called Winter, and it's just all about the things that you can do inside and outside during the winter. So just different things that you might do once it starts getting colder outside. And I know I can't remember what season it is, but we have one of these books in English and Spanish. So you can get these books as English and Spanish. If you are doing Spanish with your little one, that's an easy way to incorporate it. Any of these season books, I'm pretty sure they have as an English-Spanish version. We have a lot of winter animal books, but I promise you, they're all different. This one is called Don't Tickle the Polar Bear. This is a soft book, so it has different things that you can touch for the different animals. I always love the stories that have like how this is the sun on one page and then the next page it's the sky. Like I like the stories where they have that little peek through to the next page and it kind of just turns into something else. I don't know why, it's just something I enjoy. At the end of the book, it has this sound button here, and that's probably my girl's favorite part. It's just the sound that is supposed to be all of these animals. If you don't like books with sound, skip this one because it's not exactly the prettiest sound at the end to hear like the walrus and the polar bear and all of those different animals all together. But again, my girls love this one. I think it's still a great option. This is another animal book. It is called Arctic Wonders, and this is a slide book. So rather than a lift the flap, this is basically a pull the flap book. So you can pull it out and you can see more of the animal. And then on the last page, just like the front of the book, it has these little snowflakes that you can just kind of feel a little bit of difference in the texture of the book. I like books that are, if you can't tell, I like books that are a little bit interactive. Obviously, we can just sit and read a book and talk through it and look at the pictures, but I like there to be some books that I have that the girls can just do things with, interact, whether it be a flap or different things that they can touch or sounds. This book is The Mitten, and I have this actually in hardcover and as well as board book. I don't know where the board book version is right now, but I already had the hardcover and then I found the board book for like hardly any money at a sale, so I grabbed it. That way I can have one in Alani's room and one in Emmy's room. I don't have to worry about Emmy ripping the pages. It allows both girls to be able to have the book without me there and me feel like I can trust them with it. This is a classic, but if you are not familiar with this book, it's about a little boy who loses his mitten. The animals discover it, they're very curious, and basically what they do while this little boy is off looking for his mitten, what they're doing with the mitten. The illustrations in this book are absolutely beautiful. If you're not familiar with the mitten, this is a really good one to pick up or just grab from the library. I mentioned that I have a lot of books, but there also are so many books available at the local library. Don't feel like you have to go out and grab every book that you want for your kid. The library is always a great resource, and we definitely take advantage of ours. This one is one of my favorites. I personally have learned so much from this book. So it is called Hiders, Seekers, Finders, Keepers, and it is all about what the animals do in winter. So how different animals adapt in the winter. There are words that I didn't even know that I learned from this book. So it's been really fun reading this with Alani. We kind of just break it up because it is very informational, but also still has very beautiful illustrations. On every page, whatever the animals are there, it tells you what those animals do in the colder weather months. And then similar to the snowy day, you have the diversity in the story with the two characters that are in it. And I love to have diverse books in our library, so I do appreciate that. I don't know if this is gonna pick up because it's so light, but in the back of the book, they have an area with different animal tracks as well. So a great extension with this would be using like any sort of Play-Doh or something like that, and animal figures and doing animal tracks, some sort of like animal cards to print out with different tracks. Like so many fun things to do with this book. I look forward to exploring this one even more with Alani. If you can't tell, this is clearly my favorite in the pile. This one is very different than the rest of the books, But I grabbed this for Alani because Alani loves Seek and Finds or I Spies, any of that kind of thing. This book was pretty inexpensive on Amazon, but it has the list of things that you were supposed to find in the book, and then the page full of distractions while you try to seek out the people or the reindeer or the snowman or whatever you are looking for depending on the page. Alani really likes this one. She and Evan basically have competitions of who can find things faster. So if you have a kid that loves like I Spy and Look and Find books, this is a good winter version. There are so many other winter books that I could mention or talk about, but what I would love to see is your favorite winter books or your kids' favorite winter books, if you could put them in the comments for me as well as other people who are looking for great finds. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.